Hi guys, welcome back to Linkside 201. Today we are going to begin a new set. We are going to talk about morphology. Before that, I have an announcement. Because we already extended the deadline for the quizzes and reading quizzes for set 3, I think we need to adjust the schedule of this course. I think we are going to postpone all the deadlines for 1 week. We are going to postpone all the schedule for 1 week. I'll post a new schedule on D12. Okay, let's begin today's lecture, morphology. Okay, recall that what is morphology? Morphology is the study or your knowledge of the internal structure of words and how words are formed. So if you are able to speak a language, you already know the internal structures of words, and you know how the words are formed in this language. For example, we speak some English, right? So the first question is, can we divide these words into smaller units that still have meaning? Which means that can we break comfortable into smaller pieces, and the smaller piece still have meaning? Yes or no? Do you have an answer? The answer is yes. Yeah, for example, we have comfort and able. We have two units, right? And we have condition, and we have conditioned, and then we have reconditioned, right? These words can be broken down into several parts, and these smaller units, still have their own meanings. The smaller units are called morphemes. Okay. So for example, in English we have un. The meaning of this morpheme is not. For example, we have unlucky, unhappy, unsatisfied. So in addition to lucky has a meaning and un has a meaning, and we combine the two meanings together, right? Un has meaning, but is smaller than a word. This guy is a morpheme. Another example is we have happy and happiness. We have good and goodness. What is the meaning of this? This could be a state or condition. Okay. Such units are called morphemes. Please notice that here we are using English orthography for as examples. Actually, I'm just using this written system, this orthographies for convenience sake. Actually, the real representation of these morphemes would be phonemes, the double slash. Remember that? But I'm using orthographies for better representation, for better presentation. Okay. Another example. So, for example, we have look, and we have looks, and we have looked. So obviously, looks has two parts, look and this s, right? So actually, you have two morphemes. There are two morphemes in this word. And what is the meaning of the s? This is a tricky question. Actually, it does not have a solid meaning. Instead, this s has a grammatical function. It represents present tense, third person. The same thing applies to the ed in this word looked. This ed does not have a specific semantics. Instead, it has a grammatical function. It signifies past tense. Okay, they have grammatical functions, which are also morphemes. Okay. So we can have a formal definition of morpheme. Morpheme is the smallest linguistic unit that has a meaning or grammatical function. Okay, this is important. Here's an example of the morphemes. So actually we have a simple is a word, and it is also morpheme. And we can add another morpheme to form another word. Affix, we can have simplify, right? And based on simplify, we can add another morpheme, a cushion, to make another word, simplification, right? And then we can add another morpheme and make up another word, over simplification. And finally, we can add another morpheme, the plural morpheme s, over simplifications. Okay. So for this word, this is a single word. However, there are 5 morphemes within this single word. Okay. And here I'm going to introduce some classifications of morphemes. Okay, every morpheme can be classified based on whether or not it can stand alone by itself. If it can stand alone, then this morpheme is a free morpheme. And if not, then the morpheme will be a bound morpheme. Notice that free morpheme also called stem or base. Okay, here are some examples of free morphemes. Free morphemes can stand alone by itself. For example, with a walk, dog, sky, at, on, is, she. These examples are words, but they are also morphemes. And we have bound morpheme. For example, these guys, they cannot stand alone. They have to attach to someone else. We're going to talk about this very soon. Okay. There are a classification of free morpheme as well, based on the function of the free morphemes. There are 2 types. The first one is content morpheme, and the other one will be function morphemes. Okay, content morphemes are open class, which means that new content morphemes can be easily added to the language. And they are morphemes that have more clearly referred to something. Yeah, which means that they have more semantics. So in English, content morphemes are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. On the other hand, we have function morphemes. Function morphemes are closed class, which means that it is very hard to invent a new function morpheme. And function morphemes have more abstract meaning. For example, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, articles, and auxiliary verbs. These examples are function morphemes. Okay. And then we can talk about bound morphemes. Bound morphemes are also known as affixes. Okay. Affix, bound morphemes never exist as a word by themselves. vowel morpheme never exists as a word by itself, and they always they are always attached to some other morpheme. These are some examples with in, ness. These morphemes cannot stand alone. They have to be attached to someone else. Okay. And we have some classification for affix as well. So the first classification is based on the position of the affix. Okay. If an affix attached to the beginning of words, then it is called a prefix. We have two examples here with as in unsatisfied, with in as in impossible. They are attaching to the beginning of words. They are called prefix. And we have the opposite of prefix, which is suffix, which attaches to the end of words. For example, we have ness, happy, happiness, and with lit, the happy, happily. So these morphemes attach to the end of other words. These are called suffix. And we have two more special affixes. The first one is infix. We do not have a real infix in English, but we have a close one. So an infix attaches within a stem. It goes into the middle of a word. For example, the most close one is this guy, bloody. So we can have fantastic, and then we have bloody-tastic, right? So it goes into the middle of a word. This is called the infix. And we have another special one, which gets around the stem. So it split affixation to both sides of stem. Not the beginning, not the ending, but both. In German, we have this example. So this morpheme is cook. And if you want to have a past tense, if you want to have a past version of this word, we have a circumfix. Okay. And there is another way to classify affix. And this classification is based on its function or its meaning. The first type is called derivational affix, which is an affix that changes the word class of the root or stem. Changing the word class means by attaching the affix, we change the part of speech of the stem. For example, here we have kite, and we try to attach ness to kite. Then we got kindness. Kite is an adjective, and kindness is a noun. In other words, this morpheme, this affix ness, changes the part of speech of kind. So this would be a derivational affix. Okay. The other type of derivational affix is that it adds extra meaning to the root or stem. For example, so we have happy and we have unhappy. So by attaching to another morpheme, we add more meaning to this morpheme. Okay. On the other hand, we have inflectional affix as well. So this is a more this type of inflectional affix has a more abstract function. It is required by the grammar. They do not change the word classes, and they do not convey extra meanings. For example, the plural morpheme s and possessive s. So then dog, we have dogs, and a dog's dish. It does not have a solid meaning, but just there for a grammatical function. And we have some example for verbs as well. Third person singular present tense s, she works. What is the meaning of this s? This is a tricky question because it does not have a solid meaning. It is just a grammatical function. We have other inflectional affixes as well, ing, ed, ened. And for adjective, we have comparative, superlative. Okay. Here's a summary of all the classifications of morphemes. The first classification is based on whether the morpheme can stand alone by itself. If we can do so, then we got free morpheme. And if we cannot do so, if we cannot stand alone, then we have a bound morpheme. Okay. And there are two types of free morphemes. If we have a abstract meaning and is a closed class, then we have this functional morpheme. Okay, for example, conjunction, preposition, article, pronouns, auxiliary verbs. And then we have open classes as well, which has more solid semantics. Okay, on the other side, we have bound morphemes. We can talk about affix first. And there are two types of affix. We have derivational affix, which either change the part of speech of the root or add more semantics of the root. Okay, and derivational affix by its position, we can have two types. If we attach to the beginning of a stem, then it's called prefix. And if the affix goes to the end of a stem, then it would be a suffix. Okay. And in English, all the inflectional morphemes are suffix. But for in other languages, this could not be the case. This may not be the case. We can have a prefix. We can have an inflectional prefix as well. But this is just an example of English morphemes. Okay, and the tricky part of this is this guy we did not talk about. Bound root. It's very special. This is very special examples. They are not free morpheme because they cannot stand alone. And they have to attach to someone else. However, they do not have a semantics. It's just like a placeholder. Yeah. So we are not going to focus on this guy. Bound root. It's just like a placeholder. Okay. Okay, thank you. And we are going to have an in-class exercise for this lecture as well. See you next time. Bye bye.